Well, good evening, WNBA and LA Sparks fans, and welcome in to the LA Sparks 365 Network, your 24/7, 365 comprehensive home of the WNBA and your two-time WNBA champion Los Angeles Sparks. Coming great, folks, with an extended edition tonight here of Sparks 365 for the next 2 hours. We will cover everything that has occurred, folks, over the past 24 hours involving the Sparks. And we will get to a lot tonight here, folks, on this extended block of the show tonight, folks. Bear with me as well tonight, folks. I've been a bit bothered by the past few days by a bit of a little minor cold, so the voice might be a bit raspy, but just deal with that for the night, folks. But again, we will be joined, folks, shortly by Chris and Mancy sometime soon in this hour, folks. And again, the breakdown of tonight's show is for the next 57 minutes or so here, folks. Till 10 o'clock, we will recap the entire Sparks coaching carousel that has occurred over the past 24 hours or so. Then from 10 to 11, we'll recap the All-Star game, talk about the Sparks' upcoming game on Wednesday, and close out the show with the part one of our two-day special counting down my top 20 WNBA players. Now, a quick, brief word, folks, about that is my top 20. The first 10, and to kind of spoil it, folks, is my all-time favorites from the 90s until 2004, and then everybody after 11 is the present day. So it's basically, folks, going to be two different top 10 lists you will get tonight during the 10 o'clock hour. But, folks, we'll get to the big news of the night and of the weekend, folks. And you knew it was coming, folks, but finally the Sparks have relieved Carol Ross of her head coaching duties, naming Sparks Executive VP and General Manager Penny Toler the team's next head coach. The Los Angeles Sparks have relieved Carol Ross as head coach and named current Sparks Executive Vice President and General Manager Penny Toler as the team's head coach for the remainder of the season. Ross joined the Sparks as head coach in 2012, amassing a 61-36 career record in 2.5 seasons with LA, including 2 back-to-back playoff appearances in 2012 and 2013. Penny Toler, in her press release statement, said that "I'd like to thank Carol for her contributions to the Sparks organization, the team, and Los Angeles community. Carol is a tremendous coach, but we felt it was time to bring in a different energy to this team. Decisions like this are never easy, and we wish Carol all the best," close quote. Toler has spent her entire WNBA career in Los Angeles, amassing 17 years as a player, general manager, and now current executive vice president with the Sparks. The longest tenured general manager in the WNBA, Toler took over the reins as GM just prior to the 2000 season and compiled back-to-back WNBA championship-winning teams 2 years into her tenure, bringing LA titles in 2001 and 2002. In her 14 seasons as general manager, Toler has guided the team to the WNBA postseason 12 different times, from 2000 to 2006, 08 to 10, and 2012 through 2013. Also has won 3 conference championships from 01 to 03, and of course the back-to-back WNBA titles. As a player, Penny scored the first basket in WNBA history back on June 21st, 1997, versus the New York Liberty, and finished the inaugural season as the Sparks' leading scorer with 13.1 points per game. The following season, she shot an impressive 41.7% from the three-point range to rank second in the WNBA, while finishing 5th in the league in assists at 4.8 per game. After 3 years, Penny hung up her basketball shoes following the 99 season with the WNBA career averages of 10 points, 2 rebounds, and 4 assists per game, all that in 88 career games played. She retired from playing pro basketball with a combined 13 years of overseas and WNBA experience. Joining her on the sideline will be remaining assistant coach Gary Kloppenberg and former Sparks assistant Steve Smith. Smith returned to the Sparks after serving as an assistant coach for the team during the 1998, 2009, and 10 Sparks seasons. Smith has over 20 years of coaching experience at the high school, collegiate, and pro level, most recently serving as the AD at Windward School in Los Angeles, California. Well, I will tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, is the news was first reported at about 4:20 local time yesterday, and it sort of brought a mixed melting pot of reviews from not just Sparks fans, but the entire league, I believe, was a bit, not really surprised, but sort of taken back that it took the Sparks this long to make some sort of coaching switch. Now, from my side of the story, folks, is what I was talking with Shorty Mamba 24, who might join us tonight here, folks, during this extended block of the show here, is apparently it sounds like Carol had just finally came to her last straw with this team, and it felt like what we were discussing last night was she lost faith, as did the team lost faith in her. But it wasn't just Ross, folks. Also, that broke yesterday as well. Not only was Ross also fired, but also assistant coach Gail Gustenkors did resign yesterday following the news of Carol Ross being fired. Gail also followed her out. And if you were with us earlier in the day today, when we broke the news about Gail's departure, she did tell Michelle Vopel via conference call today that there was a few things that were brought up that sort of led her the wrong way in regards to a few different things, which I'm trying to pull up here. But again, the big news again, folks, which was broke yesterday again, the big news again, Carol Ross has been fired by the Sparks. Gail Gustenkors had resigned, but the Sparks retained Gary Kloppenberg to remain at his current position of assistant coach with the team. Now, if you folks remember, Gail Gustenkors last year was actually a team consultant last year for the Sparks, serving as a consultant for teams and players and about bringing players to Los Angeles. But the coaching update that we broke 8 hours ago, via teleconference, Gail Gustenkors said she resigned from the Sparks out of loyalty to the fired head coach of Carol Ross. So obviously, that was one deal yesterday. But folks, the other story too was there was also reports yesterday that there was also discussion of some possible players also leaving the Sparks as well. Now, we've had no news, courtesy of Stu Faber, Albert Lee, or Michelle Vopel of ESPNW.com about any player movement yet. But the bigger story, though, has been that, again, was Carol Ross being fired yesterday as well. Folks, we'll kind of go back in the archive here real quick at this point in time. Now, what we can tell you again is right at precisely at 4:20 p.m. yesterday, it was broken yesterday by Michelle Vopel of ESPNW saying, she tweeted out, and we also retweeted it on the network Twitter handle, hearing that Carol Ross is out as Sparks coach and GM Penny Toller's taking over on the bench. No announcement yet. So that was the first breaking news yesterday that we were able to report on for you guys yesterday. Then a few minutes later, at 5:10, more breaking news from Michelle Vopel. She then announced that Gail Gustenkors would not be staying with the Sparks organization. So she also did leave on her own terms following that being brought up yesterday. Further in that discussion from yesterday as well, trying to find out the word here that we received here. Again, there was a lot that went on yesterday, folks, but again, so kind of rehash again real quick. But again, 4:20 p.m. yesterday, first news breaks from Michelle Vopel of ESPNW that Carol Ross is fired. 5:10 p.m., Michelle Vopel reports that Gail Gustenkors will not be coming back. Then the network tweeted out yesterday at 5:15 what we know and knew so far was that Michelle Vopel had reported that Carol Ross had been fired and that Gail Gustenkors would not be staying with the Sparks organization. And then later to come, matter of moments later, 5:21, Michelle reports in that Gary Kloppenberg would be staying with the Sparks at his current assistant coach role. So, and then the other news that we did pass along that did get retweeted 8 times yesterday by the fans, by the great fans out there that follow us on Twitter. Again, the coaching staff updates that we knew at 5:25 was that Carol Ross was fired. Gail Gustenkors would not return to the team, but Gary Kloppenburg retained his assistant coaching job with LA. So it's been a lot to digest, folks. And then Sue Favor of Hoopism then reported into us as well when she followed the network that she also did a report that Sue Favor did report that there was talk perhaps. Well, before that though, Sue Favor did confirm to us on the Sparks Twitter handle that at 5:52 p.m. yesterday that the Sparks had relieved Carol Ross and that Penny Toller would become the Sparks head coach for the remainder of the 2014 season. So after that fray was confirmed finally, Sue Favor also did mention a rumor that former Sparks player and WNBA legend and soon-to-be Hall of Famer Lisa Leslie could have been joining the network sometime, could have been joining the coaching staff perhaps, had Gary Kloppenburg possibly not come back, or to fill the void for Gail Gustenkors if she not have come back. And then also, Sue Favor did also say that there would be a press conference today, but there was no word from Sue or Michelle Vopel about the press conference. And also, folks, a stat to know, folks, this will be the 5th different Sparks head coach in the Candace Parker era. This will be their 5th different head coach in 6 years since Candace came in 2008. Now, to take it one step further, folks, Sue Favor of Hoopism also did, in her blog today, did post the following post about her thoughts about this ongoing, about the firing. And Sue Favor does write this on her blog at hoopism.blogspot.com. She does say, the official announcement came just after 5 p.m. today. The LA Sparks relieved coach Carol Ross of duties. General manager Penny Toller will be the coach for the remainder of the season. ESPN cites a source that says assistant coach Gary Kloppenburg will remain while Gail Gustenkors chose to leave. Taking her place will be former Sparks assistant coach Steve Smith. Am I surprised? Not in the least. I could see this day coming for a while. Now, to begin with, the Sparks have fallen short of expectations for the last 2 seasons. In 2012, Ross's first year, she received the Coach of the Year award. Days later, the Sparks lost by 1 point to Minnesota in the Western Conference Finals. Last season, the Sparks lost in the first round to Phoenix by 1 point. This year, Toller assembled an all-star cast, and the future looked bright. After the team's first 2 preseason games. They had energy, worked together, executed plays, and dominated on defense. Then suddenly they began losing, and losing, and losing. Right now they are currently 10-12 for 4th place in the Western Conference after spending most of the first half of the year at 5th or in last place. In Sue's words, she says the Sparks looked listless and discombobulated on the court. They don't play together, and they don't play defense. It's especially baffling considering the talent level of team members. I knew the end was near last month when Candace Parker was taken out of a game against the Lynx, and a verbal altercation between her and Gustenkors ensued. I posted pictures, along with a call for change. Things had looked better recently, with the Sparks winning 3 of their 4 games on the road. The last Thursday's 4-point loss to the Mystics proved to be the death nail for Ross. To be clear, Ross is a great coach. I don't, however, think her style was the right fit for the Sparks, and fit is everything in the pros. Toller as a coach is a interesting situation. She retired in 1999 and began working with Sparks front office the next season. She has not coached. Her appointment now will give her a chance to coach one of the many dynamic teams she has assembled over the years. She's got to earn their respect, get them back on track, and motivate them. It sounds like a lot of pressure. Another thing the Sparks must do if they want to survive is get their fans back. There are no more fan giveaways, and there are precious few autograph sessions, and thus less connection with fans and ticket holders. I've noticed the disconnect in the empty seats at Staples Center. Attendance is really down, and it's not just due to the team's performance. If fans feel like the Sparks cared that they are there, more would show up. The Sparks are having a press conference tomorrow, which I will be reporting on. They have back-to-back home games this Wednesday and Thursday against the Liberty and Mercury. It's safe to say that for now, all eyes will be on the Los Angeles Sparks. There were a few comments posted on Sue's blog. The first one here from Abacus Revolves saying, "Time to put out an ABB for Jelly Bean Bryant," he asked. And then Tamir Busser said, "I'm glad you mentioned the fans here, Sue. Last year I was a half-season ticket holder and Mr. signed up for a full season. Between Magic rescuing the team from extinction and now this bump in the road, it's a very interesting ride. We are true fans and will be again next season, but you hit it on the head when you said more needs to be done for the fans. We are MVP ticket holders, and I'm still wondering what exactly that gets me compared to the tickets I had last season. No autograph accessions, etc. Now with the coaching turnover, it makes me worry for the players and the fans. I hope they can get it together for everyone's sake. We love our Sparks, and we'd love to see them for many years to come," ending her comment. Well, you know, Sue Faber, folks, has sort of become one of our best friends here on the network. She has followed us and has sort of been one of our people we go to and can trust for news and information. And we do love Sue to death as much as we do love Albert and Michelle and Ramona Shelburne. But Sue brought up a lot of great points, though, and we'll get to my point of view in a moment here, folks. But, you know, in Sue's case, you know, I totally agree, though, that she is not surprised, folks, and nor am I surprised, though. But I'm just more surprised that it took this long. But, folks, you know, again, folks, we are waiting on Chris Mancia, folks. He'll be hopping in sometime very soon. We do know that. He'll be in sometime soon. He's just taking care of a few things at his house right now, so we will have Chris Mancia from the NRL series here, folks, sometime soon in this hour of the show. But the only thing, folks, that is kind of surprising / alarming is you're promoting, you know, a cornerstone of the WNBA and the Sparks franchise, who has never coached a WNBA game or coached a basketball game in her career, as your assistant coach now. Now that might be the one red flag, perhaps, folks, that's sort of a bit weird. But folks, if you remember back, I believe 2 weeks ago, back on the network, when it was myself only on July 7th, I said that I can't really name anybody off the top of my head that I thought you could bring in mid-season. Now, at this point, folks, I see that this is only going to be a right the ship, you know, all the way to the end, and then we'll find out who it's going to be next, folks. But still, though, folks, I can't still think, folks, you know, 14 days removed from the last time I was solo here, back on July 7th, I still can't name anybody off the top of my lid who you can bring in to be the head coach. Now, I know everybody wants Lisa Leslie out there, folks, to be the head coach. I just don't think that Lisa, as much as she loves going to the games as a fan now, I think that her days in basketball operations, head coach or somewhere in the front office, I think those days are done. Because I think she's got too much on her plate going on, working at ABC 7. She's got a lot going on, too, with her family, with her 2 kids and stuff like that. So I just don't think, and I just can't see Lisa coming back involved here. Now, if Magic brings her back in, and I think that, you know, Lisa should be a consultant perhaps for the team, or, you know, something involving the organization, folks. And I think that if Lisa was involved in some fashion, it would be nice to see that occur. But I just don't think that Lisa is a fit right now, because I think that Lisa is over her head. I think she's kind of, you know, sort of kind of detaching away from basketball operations. But, I mean, she would be a good fit to bring in as like a special consultant perhaps. But, folks, I still can't really think of anybody out there that could become Sparks head coach over the offseason. Now, it's a bit alarming, though, that you're moving your GM and, you know, a pioneer of the WNBA who's never coached the game in her career to your head coaching position. Now, Shorty Mama 24 told me last night that she had a wild dream that it would have been Gail or Klopp that could succeed Ross as head coach of a team if in fact this did happen. But I'll tell you what, folks, it's been a very wacky and very kind of stressful last few hours, folks, especially yesterday and today, involving this entire situation involving the Sparkskin folks firing head coach Carol Ross. And folks, what has been a very a very sort of not a LA Sparks type season, basically, is what I'm getting at here. And I think it's more stressful, folks, because the Sparks have promoted, and I think that's the one concern, folks, again, is that you've moved Penny Toller. You're moving somebody, folks, who has not coached a game in her WNBA career. She's played, yes. But again, from the front office point of view, folks, again, I just don't know if this is going to work. Now, I'm going to be at the game on Wednesday, this upcoming Wednesday night against New York, and I'm hoping that LA wins. But we'll see what happens, folks. But we love to get your take, folks, on Twitter on this, because we got it until 11 o'clock here, folks. So again, you guys can hit us up on Twitter. It's at LA Sparks 365 or at Calamac3. Let us know, folks, again, your initial reaction to hearing the first news of the Sparks, for one, firing Carol Ross, and two, also hiring Penny Toller, promoting her to the team's head coaching position. Now, going back to what I brought up about head coaching options, it's really tough, folks, and I'll say it again here, broken record until Chris gets in here sometime soon, hopefully, is I cannot think of anybody. And I know that we were going to try to come on here, folks, but I had major internet problems yesterday. But I just don't know if I can think of any one player, one GM, front office, or one particular person out there that I know of that would be able to come in and fix this LA team. Now, there's been a lot of discussion as we do break away, folks, and bring in Chris Mancy, folks, from the Anaheim Studios up in Anaheim, California. Chris, good evening, man. I know it's been a very turbulent last 24 hours, man, with a lot of Sparks coaching staff shuffling, man, and everything else included, man. But how's it been going up there, though?
Still not hanging here. What happened last week on Friday?
Oh, man, it's been a lot. We will say that, Chris, but I'll tell you what, man, this one was sort of like getting hit by a garbage truck, Chris, how the Sparks finally, Chris, did make a move. But I think it was just too little, too late, Chris. Again, if you don't know, again, folks, we'll recap now that Chris is in here, folks. But again, the Sparks were leaving head coach Carol Ross of her duties yesterday, and above all, folks, naming executive VP and current GM Penny Toller next head coach. Chris, when you heard the first news from the network break the news yesterday at 4:20, man, your thoughts about Carol Ross finally, Chris, your thoughts, Chris, about Carol Ross being let go yesterday by the Sparks after what's been a very, very shaky first half of the season?
I was very shocked that they let her go without the petition didn't even do anything, but they still let her go, and I was very surprised.
Chris, I think everyone out there was a bit surprised in some fashion that the move finally came, Chris, but I think this is a point in time, Chris, where it's sort of a bit too little, too late. But, Chris, when you heard us also, Chris, at about 5:10 break the news, though, that the team was promoting general manager and executive vice president, Chris, promoting Penny Toller to the head coaching position, your thoughts were what?
I was surprised. Penny Toller was the head coach. I thought it would have been Lisa Leslie or someone.
Chris, for one, I had to laugh yesterday because I was in a hangout with Shorty Mama 24 yesterday talking about this, and I think everyone, Chris, was sort of like, are you kidding me? You named Penny Toller as head coach, Chris. And the reason why Chris was doing that, Chris, is, like I said a lot here in the opening few minutes of Chris, again, is Penny has never coached a game in her career, Chris. So, Chris, that it's sort of been that 1 year where they're going to, throw the white flag and sort of surrender here, Chris. Kind of, sort of, it looks like, if they're doing this. But at the same time, though, man, it's like, are you trying to get back in the postseason mix here, or are you going to let Penny Toller, Chris, sort of make it a worse season for LA, Chris, where they could go on a 12-game skid and lose the remaining games here on the schedule? Or what do you think, Chris? Because I've seen it, Chris, on Twitter from everyone out there. They've been sort of torn about this, and they've been a bit upset though that it was Toller named, Chris. But I mean, what's your thought here about once more here about the Sparks again naming current GM Penny Toller the 5th different head coach since Candace Parker's rookie year?
They're probably surrendering, like what Shorty tweeted to, forgot who, the first overall pick in the 2015 NBA draft, the Los Angeles Sparks select.
It very well could be, Chris, but that's more, I think, right now for Chicago, who has, Chris, gone from first all the way down to last place in the Eastern Conference. We'll get to that later on. And that, Chris, the Sparks do have 4 right now, Chris. Just a matter though of how long can you hang on to your playoff lives, basically. And Chris, Stu Faber, brought up a great point yesterday. We'll get to that in a moment here, but also, Chris, Shorty also brought up a good point, Chris. Is it just looked like throughout the entire few games, throughout the first half, Chris, I think everyone agrees here is Ross finally lost her faith in the team, Chris, and it looked like, though, man, that the team had also lost their faith in their head coach, Chris, even before, yesterday's firing, Chris. And, Chris, the point here that Stu Faber brought up was back in Minnesota earlier this month, Chris, if you recall best, when the Sparks took Candace Parker out of the game with 12 seconds to play and when she walked off the court, after she got removed and subbed out in those last few minutes, Chris, she had a verbal altercation with Gail Gustenkors. Actually, I take that back, Chris. This was back in June when LA got rolled by Minnesota. And, Chris, there was that one little scuffle, that one little altercation, Chris, that was on Time Warner Cable Sportsnet, where Gail and Parker were sort of, chirping at each other a bit, Chris. And Stu Faber did post photos, Chris, of that issue. And I will actually, folks, give you these shots here. And, these are actually, Chris, very intimidating shots, Chris. They're a bit graphic almost as well. We'll go, Chris, to what Stu believes is the main culprit, and also, Chris, probably the reason why Gail Gustenkors, Chris, did leave the Sparks. Chris, we'll go there, courtesy of Google Talk Screen Share, Chris. And, Chris, I think these 4 pictures, Chris, are true here, that a picture really does speak 1,000 words. Chris, I think this is the most animated I have ever seen Candace. Shot 2. Then we'll go to shot 3, and then shot 4. So there, Chris, is something, that is Chris, that is pretty alarming right there. Those 4 photos, Chris, were pretty alarming, Chris. But the first one, though, again, is I have never, Chris, in my 10 years watching the WNBA, or the entire time, Chris, I've watched Candace's career, have I ever seen her that upset and that animated on the sideline, Chris. And you knew it got bad, too, of that last shot. You had Candace Wiggins, Chris, who was in street clothes, stepping in between Candace and the coach staff, Chris, because I think, and, so that's one deal, Chris. And then I think the next one, though, was when we heard about Parker walk off the court in Minnesota, Chris. That was also another point, I think, Chris, that Sue nailed home is the star player, Chris, finally lost her patience and finally just exploded for once, Chris. And I think it's the move that's too little, too late, man. But it seems like that they got on the wrong side of the star player, Chris. That it looks like the coaching staff got on the head. The coaching staff, Chris, got on the star player's nerves so much that they finally made some sort of a move here, and Chris has been knocked out of the hangout here. So, again, folks, I will go back here and re-show you folks these photos here real quick of this incident, folks. And again, these are pretty self-explanatory, folks. So we'll go back there real quick as we wait for Chris to hop back in here, folks. We'll go back and show you, folks, these 4 photos again here, courtesy of Google Talk Screen Share, folks. So again, here is the 4 photos again here that Sue Favor did share on. And folks, literally this first photo here, and I know I'm probably breaking you, folks, because I really can't talk too much here over the screen share, but I'll do my best here if you can make out my words here. But this first shot pretty much explains that there was no real connection here. No connection between the star player on the team and the coaching staff were not communicating, and they were not seeing eye to eye. And then even the second photo is even explanatory as well, that something was not clicking right, and something had to change in that particular game. But when you look at the score, too, that first quarter score is self-explanatory as well, folks, at this point in time. And then even the third one as well. And then the fourth one, folks, is also the icebreaker here. Not really the icebreaker, but just looking at this, folks, where you have to have your injured player, folks. Again, I'm circling Candace Wiggins here, folks, because Candace Wiggins is right here where my telestrator's at, folks. She's literally, trying to calm down the team, but also she's trying to screen Parker from continuing to go after Gary Kloppenberg and Gail Gustenkors, folks. So there was something in those, so obviously that is one of the main culprits of the moves, I think, is that lasting effect that the star player finally lost her mind, and that's what it was. And I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, it's really tough. I mean, those shots right there, pretty much in Sue's terms and in my terms here, are the reasons why I think the Sparks finally made some sort of move. And it's never good if you have your star player like Candace Parker, folks, just get completely upset like she was that animated, folks. And this is going to be an uphill climb. It's an uphill climb, folks, for a lot of reasons that the Sparks have struggled all season. They've played very inconsistent basketball all season. But now, again, this is pretty much, folks, a test drive experiment now of having current GM Penny Toller, again, folks, who has never coached a game in her career. In her entire WNBA career, folks, she has never coached a WNBA game in her entire career with the Sparks. And it's going to be an uphill climb, folks, because you can look at the schedule, folks. I know that Wednesday might be a gimme with the Liberty, but, folks, after that, you've got to play Phoenix again 2 times in the same month. You play them at home and on the road, and then it just does not seem, folks, to get any easier after that. And the tiebreaker, folks, at this point in time with Seattle may loom large. If LA and Seattle does tie, LA gets that 4th seed. So that might be, folks, the one thing working in the Sparks' favor is should they tie with the Storm for 4th place, the Sparks hop, skip, and a jump them for the 4th spot in the WNBA Western Conference. But, folks, again, going back to the hot news again, the Sparks yesterday finally fired head coach Carol Ross, and also did announce the resignation of assistant coach Gail Gustenkors, but retained the assistant coach Gary Kloppenberg. The new coach staff, folks, will be Penny Toller, current GM and vice president of the team, along with Klopp, and the new assistant coach, folks, is Steve Smith. Now, folks, Chris Fancy, folks, by the way, his phone overheated, so it's just more problems here for him tonight here, joining the network here at this point in time. But going back to my first point, folks, is even now, I still can't think, folks, of anybody out there that I think would be able to come in mid-season or come in the off-season to coach the Sparks because there's too many people, or there's actually not a lot of people out there that want to coach in the WNBA, folks. Now, a few things that I can think of here would be, I've heard of Lisa Leslie. You know, I've heard of Coach Dave Miller from Time Warner Cable Sportsnet. And, you know, there's been some talk to some other people, folks, but I want to post out there to everyone on Twitter. Either tweet to us at LA Sparks 365 or at KellerMac3. Should the Sparks make a coaching move in the offseason, who is your candidate right now for the Sparks head coaching vacancy over the offseason? Hit us up on Twitter at LA Sparks 365 or at KellerMac3. Use the hashtag Future Sparks Head Coach, and we will greatly take your input on who could be the next Sparks head coach over the offseason. Now, shifting to Penny Toller. Now, Penny, as we know, folks, will coach her first ever career game on Wednesday night when the Sparks take on New York at 7:30 p.m. at Staples Center. Now, we know that Penny is under scrutiny daily from Magic Johnson, that Magic is telling Penny that we have to win the WNBA title this season. We have to win it. There's no excuses or exceptions as to why we can't win it, because Magic is bringing that Showtime Lakers mentality. You love to win and you hate to lose. So I think, folks, that there's even more pressure now on Penny Toller to get this team not only in the postseason, folks, but past the Western Conference postseason into the WNBA Finals. I mean, I think, folks, solely that Toller, folks, could be coaching and working for her other jobs, because Magic Johnson, folks, just employs and keeps, you know, beating down that dead horse, folks. Every day he sees Penny, he always tells Penny, we have to win the championship this season. So I think if Magic does not get his title this year, folks, I think solely, and we can agree to disagree on this, folks, but I think solely that perhaps if Toller, as a head coach, whether she has the experience or not, folks, whether she wins the title or bombs out, she might be gone as well. And in my view, folks, Penny has done good things for his team. But I think Magic might go a different direction. He might consider, folks, going a different direction if, in fact, the Sparks don't win it this year, because he is bringing, folks, that LA Lakers Showtime mentality to this Sparks franchise. He also does it, folks, with the Dodgers, that if the team is not getting to the World Series or get in the or win the division title, he might make a move. And Magic realizes solely that the time was finally here for some sort of a move. And I still, folks, think it was a bit too little too late, because at this point in time the Sparks are kind of dead and buried, but there's still plenty of time, folks, to get back on the winning ways here. But I mean, folks, I would love to get your take on this too here on Twitter. Again, tweet us in at LA Sparks 365 or at KellerMac3. Let us know, folks, do you believe that if the Sparks don't win the championship this season, could Penny Toller also be let go by Magic Johnson? Now, folks, there's two sides of the story here, in my view. I think for Magic to fire Toller would be if the Sparks just bombed out this season and didn't play up to their potential. If they just, bombed out and said, screw it, we'll go out there and do our best, and if we get in, we get in. But at this point in time, we're just satisfied on being a lottery team. I think if that happens, if the Sparks have another tough start to the second half of the season, opening up with New York on Wednesday and Phoenix on Thursday in a back-to-back, I think that Magic might make more moves. And then there's the other side of me, folks, or the other side of the spectrum at least, that's saying, you got to give her time. She hasn't coached in the WNBA or coached in her career, and Magic will give her some leash and some leeway here. But, folks, I'm actually more concerned, though, and more wanting to know about, will Magic and Penny make any player/roster moves after this occurred. Now, some people brought up Lindsey Harding and Arminty Harrington. Reasons being, folks, is Arminty played under Carol Ross in college, and Harding played for Ross in Atlanta 2 seasons ago before Ross came to Los Angeles. And they have great chemistry with Carol Ross. So, I mean, there's been talk about Minty possibly being on her way out, and for all that I care about, folks, and I think a lot of fans would be happy if Lindsey Harding left, maybe minus Chris, but her game has not been up to snuff like it should be, folks, and a lot of people have wanted her to be gone because of her play. Folks, the only one, and, some people out there have agreed to disagree, folks, about this, but I actually, folks, I have no reason to worry, folks, that nothing's going to happen with Candace Parker. I know that a lot of fans, non-Sparks fans, and I respect their opinion, though, that they sort of think that Candace should leave LA. Now, I know that this has been a talking point that's kind of made me upset and frustrated and pissed off, though. But you have to look at both sides of the spectrum. I know that I'm a big CP fan, folks. I'm going to, and I'm going to say that she'll never leave LA. But I think that after the incident with Gail and Rock, with Gail back on June 8th, and then with Parker walking off the court in Minnesota last week, that might have been an indication to Penny Toller that Candace is unhappy. We got to make her, we got to make her happy again, and we got to make some sort of move here. Now, things to keep in mind, folks, again, is Parker is still under contract with LA, either through 2015 or 2016, and she is a unrestricted free agent. So that's one deal, folks. Again, is making sure your star player is healthy and happy at the same time. And I solely believe, folks, going back to my spectrum at least, which is, Parker never leaving, is Magic Johnson in his press conference said that we have the best player in the world in Candace Parker. If you're a Dodger fan out there, do you recall him saying that we have the best player in baseball in Matt Kemp and the best pitcher in Clayton Kershaw? Look what he's done with those 2 players, folks. He's restructured and re-signed them to long-term contracts. Don't be surprised if Magic does the same damn thing and re-signs Parker to a max deal either before or after her contract does expire in the next coming years. So I think that perhaps following that little run-in with Gail Gustenkors back on June 8th in LA, that may have been the light bulb that went on with Penny Toller saying that, okay, Candace is not happy, and something's not right here, something's not clicking right here. I got to make a move. And again, folks, like I said though back on July 7th, folks, it's just very tough right now to pinpoint where do you sort of put the blame on the season. Now I know one specific fan, folks, keeps going back to the Kristi Toliver selling out issue. Folks, for one deal, Toliver had obligations in her contract to go to Russia. So it's not all her fault. Part of it, I think, is on KT for making that move, yes. But at the same time, though, folks, and what you have to get instilled in your head is you can't just claim they're selling out because they left the team for 6 games. I know they went 1-5, folks, but you have to think, outside of the box. That these players aren't playing that they're playing for the fans and the team on their jersey. Yes, I get that, folks, but they're playing for themselves. And in Candace Parker's case, for instance, folks, in Parker's case, you're playing for your daughter, your husband, your house, and everything else, folks. So you're playing more than just your team and the fans. Now, you can call it a sellout, folks, whatever it is, folks, but Toliver did have obligations in her contract to go to Slovakia to try out for the 2014 FIBA World Championships and the 2016 Olympic Games, folks. Now, it can be pinned on Penny Toller, folks, for allowing her to go. She could have said, no, KT, you got to stay here. We need you because we're falling behind so early in the season. We're struggling, and we got to get back on track. That's what he could have done. And that's that's the main one, folks. Everyone loves bringing up is Tolliver selling on a team. She's being disloyal, folks. In no means is Tolliver being disloyal in this case here, folks. Again, if you have obligations, folks, go fulfill those obligations and then come back. But in no means was Tolliver selling out. Was she being disloyal? Was she being pouty? I know she just pouts sometimes, folks. But at the same time, though, realize though that there was talk and rumors that Christie was crying rivers, folks. She was in tears, breaking down like myself was twice on this network about being torn. Do I want to stay or do I want to go? So, I mean, don't, bury the hatchet. Tolliver did not sell out on the team for those 6 games. Now, the other talking point, folks, has been Candace Wiggins' knee injury that was ruled swollen back on May 18th, and she did not play in a game ever since. And, we were a bit concerned, though, that she wasn't playing because, it was just a swollen knee. Why is she not playing? But you dig further, folks, and then you hear that it's a torn meniscus she suffered back on opening night. And then it's a surgery, folks. And right there, that's a 1-2 combo, a 1-2 punch. And you basically have, eliminated the Sparks' air traffic control, folks, and the 3 best 3-point shooters on the team, which in Tolliver and Wiggins. And the third thing, folks, that relies heavily is the coaching philosophy. If I'm not mistaken, folks, this is sort of pretty damn close, folks. This is almost exactly like this past LA Lakers season. The coaching philosophy is not working, a few injuries, and it's one player that has showed up, folks, and the Sparks have lost. I mean, if this is not exactly, if this is not deja vu, folks, from this past Lakers season, I don't know what the hell is. But it's pretty sketchy that this has occurred, that we have gone from a dismal Lakers season to now a dismal LA Sparks season in a matter of months. And at this point in time, folks, I mean, what a year. I mean, the Sparks, there's talk of them leaving in the offseason or folding. A petition that myself and Chris Starter gets over 1,000 signatures, and the team is bought by Magic to stay in LA. And they just completely fall flat on their face. And it's been a very, very turbulent and a very, very up and down roller coaster of emotion, folks, because it's not been the same LA Sparks team that we know of from many years past. And all we can hope for, folks, is that this team turns it around. And at this point in time, ladies and gentlemen, the postseason for the Sparks starts on Wednesday night. I'm going to be there, folks, and this team, I think, needs a big boost. And it's been a very, very seesaw season, very, very unpredictable. What team's going to show up today, basically, is what it's kind of been like. And you can only hope for the best for the Sparks for the remainder of the year. And, it's kind of, it's not really shocking, folks, but it's been kind of, I don't know if it's strange, but it's been kind of cool to say the least, folks, that I've kind of seen some non-Sparks fans kind of a bit worried about the team, though, a bit. I know that Rashad Jackson, one of our good Lynx fans out there, has been a bit, how is, how is this happening to this franchise? And, that's one reason why, again, folks, that I really appreciate the WNBA is we may not like it, we may not like teams, folks, but we can kind of, almost kind of sympathize sometimes with certain teams. And, Rashad Jackson, folks, he's been that one guy out there who's been like, sort of like, how is this happening to this LA team? And I think personally, folks, everyone across the league is sort of going, how in the world is this LA Sparks team that has so much talent, so much, so much potential, how are they not, up there with Phoenix and Minnesota for the 1 and 2 spot right now? How are they in 4th place and just not clicking right now? And it's been a lot of problems, folks. And I will say this, though, to the non-Sparks fans, be thankful this is not your team. That you're not a Sparks fan and this is not happening to your club. But Again, folks, again, recapping the big news of the weekend. Again, the Sparks yesterday firing head coach Carol Ross. Assistant coach Gail Gustenkors resigns from the franchise, and the Sparks retain Gary Kloppenberg and bring back former assistant coach Steve Smith to fill the void for the Sparks for the remainder of the season again, and also have named Penny Toller, current Sparks VP and GM, as team head coach for the remainder of the year. Now, folks, we are probably going to close out the show here. We were going to probably go to do our last to another hour, folks, but we are probably going to cut it off right here at the hour mark here because I have some things to do for school here. So we're probably going to cut it off at an hour, folks. But real quick, folks, the next Sparks home game will be this Wednesday, July 23rd, when the Sparks take on their longtime East Coast rivals, the New York Liberty. Game time set for 7:30 p.m. Get your tickets today by calling 844-GO-SPARKS, 844-GO-SPARKS, or log on to lasparks.com or AXS.com, or go to the Staples Center box office, the Sparks and Liberty on Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. Folks, a quick alert for you folks is I will be at this Wednesday night's game. So Wednesday will be the host, unfortunately, folks, the host meet and greet night, folks. So we're gonna we will send out some. Okay, I need to kind of slow down here, folks. I'm getting a bit excited here for Wednesday because it's 2 days away, and I'm getting pumped to go to one more game before I go on vacation. I'll also get to that though about my vacation trip as well, folks. But again, folks, on Wednesday will be the Sparks 365 host. Unfortunately, folks, host meet and greet night, folks. This Wednesday night again. I am going to iron out the details on this event. There will be a Twitter hashtag for you folks to tag along with, folks. So it's going to be a scavenger hunt to find me, basically. All I will say, though, folks, is you can meet me. I'll tell you this right now, plain and simple, folks. I will be at the Star Plaza entryway on Wednesday to get my will call tickets from Sam I Am on Twitter. So there you go. Star Plaza entryway, folks. We'll go from there. But again, meet me and my two friends that I'm taking up there, a dad and his son. Again, folks, Wednesday, meet me at the Star Plaza entryway at the backside of Staples Center, folks, on Chickern Court. And we will go for there, folks, with our 365 host meet and greet night, folks. But again, Wednesday, the Sparks 365 host, unfortunately, folks, solo project, folks, host meet and greet night, Wednesday night when the Sparks take on the New York Liberty. Now, folks, a quick update about my vacation. Folks, I will be gone from July 31st to the last game of the regular season on August 16th, folks. So that means we may or may not have coverage on the network following July 30th. Now, if anyone out there is in LA, I'll be flying into LAX at about 8 o'clock on the 31st. So if you're going to be around LAX, either in terminals 4, 5, or 6, and you're going somewhere out of town, you can, holler at your boy if you want to. But again, folks, I'll be in Hawaii July 31st through August 16th. I'm covering an international baseball tournament, folks. So with that in mind, a quick alert for you folks is if we do have network coverage, folks, keep in mind that the show times will be starting 3 hours behind California Pac time. So if we were to go on, folks, at 9 o'clock here, it would be a 6 o'clock show over there, folks. So basically, folks, all I'm saying here is the show times will be Hawaiian times. So, for instance, folks, if we do come here with a Sparks 365 here, folks, it will be a 6 o'clock show time, not 9 o'clock, a 6 o'clock show time because of a time change over in Honolulu. Now, folks, I'll be over there till the last game of the season. Now, what may occur here, folks, if we can't come to you live, is what I did last year on my channel, on the Calamite 94 YouTube channel, folks, is I'll be doing a documentary series, folks, of On the Road. So it's going to be basically, folks, a daily update with you guys. So that's what will happen, folks, with that. I will have Wi-Fi and internet at my hotel, folks. But it's a matter, though, of if I'll be able to, for one, get some me time in my hotel room by myself, and when I'm going to be at the hotel, because of course in Hawaii I'll be going sightseeing, going surfing, rock on, and hang loose, stuff like that, folks. But again, Sparks 365, folks, is on the road, July 31st to August 16th here, folks. So again, we'll have more about that later on when the time comes. But again, folks, the two events, again, 365 host meet and greet night Wednesday night, folks, and Sparks and the network, folks, goes on the road to Honolulu, Hawaii, July 31st to August 16th. But again, folks, we are going to be cutting off the program here at the hour time at 10 o'clock, folks, because again, we've run out of time, and I've got some stuff to do for school. But again, folks, recapping the major news of the weekend and the day. Again, the Los Angeles Sparks, again, have fired head coach Carol Ross after 2.5 seasons of her duties. The team also reports that assistant coach Gail Gustenkors has resigned from her position with the Sparks, and the team has retained Gary Kloppenberg to his current role and has named Sparks Executive Vice President and GM Penny Toller as head coach of the team, and has brought back Steve Smith to be the team's second assistant coach. And again, folks, the reminder about the two events: host meet and greet night Wednesday night, July 23rd, from the Sparks Battle in New York at 7:30 p.m. Meet this guy right here at the Star Plaza entryway, and we'll go from there, folks, with the meet and greet night, folks, at the game on Wednesday. And of course, next Saturday we'll be on the road to Honolulu, Hawaii, folks. We'll have more about that at a later time and date. But folks, until sometime tomorrow or Thursday, we will have no programming, folks, on Wednesday night. So until tomorrow or Thursday, please have a safe night. Drive home safely. Thank you all for coming, folks, and good night now. This has been an extended edition of Sparks 365 right here on your 24/7 365 coverage of home of the WNBA and your two-time WNBA champion Los Angeles Sparks. This has been the LA Sparks 365 Network. We are Sparks, we are LA, and we are the WNBA, folks. We'll see you folks tomorrow night or on Thursday with more talk about the WNBA and the Sparks back here on the LA Sparks 365 Network. For Chris Mancy, I'm Calvin Cooper, folks. So long, and we'll see you folks sometime very soon. But again, good night, folks. Bye-bye.